So first and most importantly, I want to thank y'all for being so fucking patient. This episode, I honestly thought that I would have it out sooner. Then I got wrapped up with the trial stuff. It proved to be a little bit difficult as far as the voice filters go, and adding the proof from the important parties' mouths. What I do want to 100% say is there is a trigger warning the entire episode. If you have any triggers as far as child abuse and or neglect, please don't watch this. I separated it with that in mind. That way, people could get the whole picture, even if they did not see this episode. So, with that being said, let's get into it. I can't stress enough that this episode is their story. Okay? Is it about the things that Victoria did? Yes. However, I want to make it clear. You'll see the situation more in the episode. This is for them, not for you, Victoria. Do you deserve for people to know what an actual piece of shit you are? Yes. But they deserve to have their truths told without you fucking interrupting it. First and foremost, I want to take this before I even get into it. I'm going to do something that you've never done, Victoria. I'm going to take accountability for the fact that I stepped out of boundaries when I did this series. It is not a move that I would normally make. I would have never reached out to them, but if they came to me, we had a conversation. Okay, I understand that it is not something that I would normally do, but I accepted the chat invitation and I accepted that conversation. Just so we're clear, it is not going to be a normal move for me. I also do want to make it extremely clear that although Victoria claims that they were minors, they were not. So I think it's important for me to recognize that I know that it wasn't right. And that's why I would have never initiated contact. I also want to make it extremely clear that I am not going to be saying who said what. That they will all be general statements in the same format, because I'm not going to serve them up on a platter for her to attack them. It is very clear that Victoria still minimizes and justifies her behavior to them, and has never taken accountability for what she's done. And it's crazy to me that somebody could not be self-aware enough to understand the depth of the trauma that they inflicted on their own. I'm just going to give a little bit of a background, and then we'll get into their stories, because that's what matters in this episode. That's what matters. Their voices are what matters. And as much as Victoria wants to gaslight and manipulate everybody around her, they deserve for people to know the truth, even if their mother doesn't tell it. I know that the younger three kids haven't really come up in the last episode, so I do want to be clear here. She has a total of 7 kids. The younger 3 are with the husband that she is now, so there is a bit of an age gap between the older set and the younger. The other ones come up in the episode, but the 3 youngest ones are the ones that lived in foster care for 3 years. So we're going to get to the removal and how things around Christmas actually went out. But I want y'all to understand that the older 4 were not in foster care. So what I do want to say is I'm going to just give a little bit of context. Things clearly are different. There are 2 aggravating factors in a lot of Victoria's behavior. One is addiction, 2 is TikTok. I do find it a little interesting how 2 of her children have very different ideas. I can't say why I think that one's experience was so different than the others without giving away who they were. But this is what one of them said she was like before addiction and before TikTok.
When we were growing up, we were like best friends. We did a lot of stuff together. She was super sweet. We were in the church and all my friends loved her. She was a genuinely sweet human being. Kids obviously don't completely know their parents outside of them being your parent. Till you grow up.
I do find it a little weird that kids that are so close in age would have very different experiences, but I'm sure that if you think about it, you can figure out why.
My mom hasn't ever been a good mom, but before TikTok she would clean and cook and be an adult, but the motherly side wasn't there, at least not for me. I think she was using before TikTok. But it definitely became more apparent and more frequently after TikTok and DoorDash.
I asked one of them, where this started, and I found the answer pretty interesting, because maybe without even realizing it, they describe narcissistic supply.
I saw a video about people that have children to try to heal themselves and how it just makes it worse. I feel like she just seeks love, and I feel like that's where she comes from with being addicted. Not only to pills, but also with the internet. I feel like that's the reason she had so many kiddos, because she thought the more kids I have, the more love I'll have and I'll feel needed. She had too many kids and stressed herself out.
The one thing that all of the ones that I've spoken to can agree with is that Victoria's house was always filthy.
The house was filthy. It wasn't just lived in. We had boxes from when we moved in for years, and the living areas were always disgusting. It either got cleaned by the kids or it didn't get cleaned. Obviously, the kids aren't going to clean an entire house, and the older ones left every time they could.
I think it's important to understand that when Victoria built her original platform, it wasn't about her. It was about her kids and them being teen mothers. So while all of that was going on and she was building her platform off of their stories, it wasn't Victoria's story. It was their stories. They were living in deplorable conditions.
That's where the whole TikTok even started. She wanted to tell M's story and reap the benefits.
One night while Victoria was live, because she was live all the time, it's sort of like the situation that we see with Gabby now, where things are caught on camera and probably shouldn't be, right? She was live, and one of her kids says this when she says it's bedtime.
Go, child.
I don't want to sleep in that room because there's dog poop everywhere.
Instead of Victoria just owning it, she says this.
My child just said that because she didn't want to go to bed. And my 12-year-old that was standing right behind me, when it was said, was really, Eliza, our dogs go outside.
So let's listen to the rest of the clip, shall we?
Poop everywhere.
No, there is not. Go now. My God. Do you hear my child?
Now, not only is somebody said, oh my God, but nobody said, are you serious, or whatever the fuck you tried to say. Here's another one. This is another image, okay, of literal dog shit stained on the bedroom floor. And I'll take it a step further because I asked the kids about the cleanliness and the dog and animal mess in the house.
There probably was dog crap in his room when she said that. There definitely was times the dogs and cats would use the bathroom in the house.
So Victoria comes to TikTok, uses her kids being teen mom as a way to gain popularity on TikTok, while sitting on hours long live streams and ignoring the stuff going on within her own home, claiming to be a stay-at-home mom, but the kids were living in a disgusting house, very rarely had food, so she took to begging. She used every situation that you could think of in order to get money, in my opinion, for her substance use problem. But the one thing that everybody agrees on is that Victoria's house was never clean.
The house has always been dirty our whole life. I guess the more kids she had, the dirtier it got.
So what I do want to say is I absolutely understand how in a big family, the older kids would take care of the younger kids and help out here and there. In this situation, it was apparent that it was a problem.
She's a hoarder, mainly clothes.
I also want to make sure that I in no way have an issue with this type of behavior. I understand that people that are in large families, hand me down and stuff like that. That is not what I'm adding this for. I'm adding it to show that it became a health hazard. On top of that health hazard, Victoria's addiction, as her TikTok attention came up, her addiction got worse.
It went from a hand-me-down situation to a health hazard.
Now, Victoria tried to use the excuse of depression one time when she was called out on how disgusting her house was. I want people to understand that it was not a season that the house was gross. Inside, outside, all around, absolute biohazard. It was not just a little bit of time. It was the entirety of these kids' lives.
What normal people would have done was go through them and donate what we didn't use. But we just kept all of them. Eventually the clothes became mountains and piles. We had dogs and cats and everything, and they would use the bathroom on them.
So it said here, there are pictures of one of her children laying on the bed, and you could see the dog shit stains on the floor, which Victoria claimed were dust bunnies. And it said here, but it didn't happen. Sure.
The house was so dirty when we moved that we kinda just threw everything in boxes and weren't cleaning as we go, so we brought the roaches with us.
And I bet all these years later, it's still a problem. Because I know that the neighbors are still having a problem, and that you're still being cited for the trash that is on your property.
She was awesome until.
So Victoria had a couple of surgeries, which led to her being dependent on pain meds, which ultimately became her DOC. As her attention on TikTok grew, her addiction got worse.
I love them, but the woman had too many kids and wound up stressing herself out.
What I will say is I really appreciate the fact that Victoria's kids seem to have more awareness than she does at half her age. They seem to be very aware of the entire situation and can recognize it for exactly what it is. It's a very immature way of thinking. Unfortunately, you're not mature enough to realize the trauma that you are passing on to your children when stuff like this happens. And unfortunately for Victoria, she was too immature and still to this day too immature to realize the depths of the damage that she caused on her children. Specifically, there is no specifically, because I think that they're all traumatized in different ways. Some of them are more aware of the right way to go about it, if you will. But I really do think that it is a beautiful thing that the ones that are mothers thrive in spite of Victoria. They bust their asses to support their own kids instead of getting on the internet and asking or expecting a handout. And that money does go to their kids, which Victoria did not. She begged in their names, as you see in a previous episode, but that money never went to the actual kids.
She had too many kids, and she ended up stressing herself out really bad. And obviously she just kept having them, so the pills helped her with her stress.
Now that part I could almost excuse and or justify because that's what addiction does. But the abuse and the filth, I can't. Your children, one of your children refers to your house as a trauma house. And I know that you like to tell the internet that you've taken accountability, but you will see that they say that you haven't. That when you're approached about the things that you've done to them, you still lie.
She got some followers that she got by telling her kids stories about them being teen moms. But that comes with a cost.
Was it worth the price you paid, Victoria? Was the attention on TikTok and the validation that you so very much needed from strangers, the money that you stole from people, was it worth the cost of the price you paid? Just wondering.
All she cares about is her. Fame, bad or good.
I find it crazy, not really crazy, but I find it interesting how the people on the internet say the same things as the people in your real life. Attention at any cost. Good, bad, doesn't matter as long as you're getting attention.
They just started making her mean. I feel like she just started caring less.
So what's really sad to me is that as Victoria's attention on TikTok grew and she continued to exploit her children for all reasons and using their stories in order to gain popularity on TikTok, her addiction made her behavior worse, both on the internet and at home.
I'm being completely honest when I say this. Her personality didn't change until she got on TikTok.
That's the saddest part to me. Honestly, it's really sad to me that until TikTok, even though she had an addiction, everything changed. And unfortunately, she just continued to get worse.
Nathan was physically abusive to mainly Jay and Jay. He put his hands on C more times than he should have, obviously. But once Victoria started hitting us, he kind of stopped. At this point, she was very verbally and physically abusive, and yes, they both hit the animals a lot.
So I asked that question specifically because I had heard rumors and seen a couple of screenshots about Nathan being physically abusive, and I wanted to get the truth. And that's what I was given.
I would say Nathan has changed and got better. There was one time that he put his hands on her. I'm not saying putting your hands on people is okay, but there really is so much one person can take. Their relationship was good. I don't think they will ever get a divorce. He does everything she wants him to, and he has made it to where she doesn't need a job. He told her several times to get off TikTok. There would be times she was high and on livey, and he would make her get off or try to because of how she was acting. They always got into fights because of TikTok and such. Neither one of them are good parents.
Really unfortunate that even then, the people around you were trying to tell you that your behavior was affecting them, and you couldn't get it. You still do that, actually, today. So, as we all know, Victoria tries to make it like the incident that she got arrested for was a one-time isolated incident, and it was not. Physical, verbal, emotional abuse was constant at her home. I'm only going to add a couple of examples. I think that y'all catch the drift.
Another time she hit C in the mouth because she called her Victoria. C had braces and it busted her lip. They got into a fight and J, male, came out and Victoria was still trying to go for C, so J, male, held her arms behind her back, so Victoria started kicking C. J, female, came out to tell them to stop, and we wound up calling the cops. Victoria told them J, male, held her arms and C punched her repeatedly in the stomach, which was not true.
I find it fucking alarming that there is more than one instance of you blaming your children for your actions. That is just insane to me. Normally, mothers would shield their children, but not you.
There was one time Victoria was mad at J, female, and was trying to take her phone away. J was 6 to 8 months pregnant and she was big. J wouldn't give it to her and went to her room and stood in front of her door. Victoria kept pushing it until J was on the floor being squished behind the door. J left to go to a neighbor to call the cops, and Victoria got into her car and followed her. J didn't want to get into the car with the crazy bitch that just hit her, so she walked back to the house and waited for the cops.
Your pregnant daughter. Your pregnant daughter So when Victoria started TikTok, she didn't yet have her youngest child. I think that we've already gone through her patterns of behavior. But when her youngest child was born, he was sick. But Victoria leaves out the reason, a reason he was in the NICU. Right, Victoria? That child was born dependent on drugs. But you never said that. Right? You never talked about any of that. Whether he had other health issues or not, you never mentioned that that was the thing. That he had to be weaned in the NICU.
She had several different doctors. One doctor was prescribing her painkillers for her knee, I think. Being pregnant, she shouldn't have been taking them, but she was already addicted, so obviously she didn't shut down or tell them. When you're pregnant, it's your child and your pregnancy, it's not the doctor's responsibility to do anything about it.
Seems like somebody that is taking accountability for their behaviors and trying to move on and be better would just admit that instead of lying about it. The problem that Victoria has is that we're in a situation that you manipulated in order to exploit a situation for financial gain. And you're still not being honest with the people that provided you with the funds in order to deal with that.
This morning, I was just told that today will be my last night here, which means I'll have to go home. And although I know he's in good hands, I don't want to leave my baby boy at the hospital. Y'all, this is one of the hardest things I've ever been through. I don't know how all you other NICU moms did this. I don't want to leave my boy. A lot of you have messaged me asking if there's any way that you can help. Number one, please just pray. Pray that he heals fast, that he takes to the treatment. And for me, as I have to walk out of this hospital without my son, I will be driving back and forth every day. I don't care what I have to do. We live about 20 minutes out of town, but we'll figure it out one way or another. Aside from praying, other ways to help. I've noticed Mackenzie's went live a lot. Please don't say things like, is your little brother gonna make it? I understand a lot of y'all are young and you don't understand that, but that's literally asking if he's gonna die. And that really hurts, especially my children. So just please be mindful of what you say. We have about $70 in the diaper fund that y'all have donated. I'm gonna go through today and order that. We're still gonna need like outfits and towels and blankets and stuff like that. But y'all, we'll figure it out. I did go through the Amazon registry, which is still open. A bunch of y'all asked.
Why is it always somebody asked? A bunch of people asked me to do this. A bunch of people asked me to post my wish list. A bunch of people asked me this. You can't even take responsibility for that, I guess.
And took out any non-necessary things. There are some things in there that I would still like to get, and I left them in there because of the discount. But I did that for me. I'm very sorry that I talk so much. But like I was saying, in the Amazon, I removed all basically the unnecessary stuff. Stuff we don't need for a while, like high chairs and stuff like that. And again, this is only for the people that have asked. I know a lot of y'all have asked about the GoFundMe. How y'all even found out about it, I don't know. But for privacy reasons, I'm not going to share that on TikTok. Just because it has all of our family and our friends that we know personally in it. Somebody else told me to start a PayPal pool. I will if enough of y'all want me to do that, but it's not necessary. Our PayPal and Venmo and Cash App are still up. If that's something you would like to do, I'll post our P.O. box again right here. If y'all wanted to send anything, letters of encouragement would be amazing. As y'all know, I like handmade stuff. Thank you all for all your love and support. Just keep praying, please.
So there were accusations of drug use. And Victoria has always claimed if I was on drugs, the baby wouldn't have left the hospital with her. But that's incorrect if you have a legal prescription.
When O was first born, he was born sick because Victoria was doing drugs while she was pregnant. He also couldn't keep food down. We were afraid to hold him because he was so small.
It is incorrect. If you have a legal prescription, CPS would have just dismissed it.
they're traumatized kids. Like Owen, definitely, like, yeah, makes me sad. Yeah, Owen had a rough start to life. Because that was like the middle, like the midst of my bonds, like biggest, right, like lowest one, very worst when Owen was a baby. My heart really goes out to Owen, and for that. But, Owen was a lot. He cried a lot.
After that baby was born, Victoria would sit on lives for hours as that baby screamed. Half the time she couldn't find the bottle, and he screamed, and he suffered. He suffered. She also did at one point take in custody of her nephews, who she loves to show pictures of her sister's house that she took the nephews from. Her house is the same, so I don't know why she would attempt to shame her sister when she quite literally lives in the same mess. Anybody that remembers the lives from back then, the period that this is talking about, the baby would scream. Any mother knows what it means when a newborn or a baby, an infant, takes the hands and tries to eat them. But Victoria was too busy online dealing with anything. And that poor child wound up being hospitalized and diagnosed with failure to thrive. So the children winds up being seriously neglected, living in horrific conditions. But Victoria was on her quest to exploiting her older children for TikTok fame. Decides to go on a TikTok meetup. You're right. I said a TikTok meetup. 9 kids at home, but she decided to go to a TikTok meetup, couldn't pay for groceries, but found the money to go to a TikTok meetup. See, Victoria thought that she was TikTok famous. Victoria thought that she was TikTok famous. It wasn't your story to tell, Victoria. It was their story. You will never gain internet notoriety again because, unfortunately, you destroyed that for yourself. That's nobody's fault but your own.
She didn't leave us with any money and we could barely get a hold of her during that. I'm not really sure about food, but there was always barely nothing to eat.
So, in between this window is most of the series that's already posted. What I can tell you 1000% with certainty is that Victoria's house was never clean as a stay-at-home mom. The house was never clean. She stayed online begging for everything under the sun, but there was never food, well, barely, direct quote, any food in the house. So what was the money going to?
Everybody always asks me why I don't work, why I say I can't work. And I tell everybody all the time, because nothing gets done in my home if I'm not here.
So you couldn't work because you had to take care of the house, but the house was still looking the way it did?
Oh my God, I can't do this anymore. Y'all can come after me, whatever. We just lost all the food in our refrigerator after we finally had food, like extra food.
You posted that. The house was disgusting, Victoria. A stay-at-home mom typically cooks and cleans. That's not what you were doing. So you weren't working, sitting on the internet, not cooking, not cleaning, stealing from people. And you thought that was acceptable. Wasn't that what people were sending you money for, was to help the kids? They weren't helping you, Victoria. They did it for them. She would go to work and come home without any money, which is typical for addiction. I'll say that. But what is never going to be typical in addiction is abusing your children. So we fast forward a little bit. The only thing that really occurs between the point of the meetup until November of 2021 is consistent begging. Her addiction continues to get out of control. Her children continue to be ignored so that she could sit on live streams. Orders continue to be taken even though she can't get them out. Why would you have so many kids if you couldn't support them? Were you not even mature enough to understand the trauma that you were going to be putting on them because you could not afford to support them? It's not like you ever had an intention on working. You just got on the internet and made it their problem. You ceased being a mother when you got on TikTok. And that's sad. That's really sad. What's even sadder to me is that you can't even fucking recognize it. Those kids came to you and they told you that the way that you were behaving on TikTok was affecting them. You did not care, scoffed, laughed it off like it wasn't a big deal.
I'm not sure if I told her specifically that TikTok affected me, but I know. See, did, and it got shut down. But we did tell her TikTok changed her.
You still now, to this day, still cannot recognize the depths of the things that you've done. Justify, excuse, deny, lie. That's all you've done. That's all you've done. You've caused lifelong trauma, and I really pray that they continue to heal. So, at this point in time, 2 of Victoria's teen daughters became teen moms. Both of them worked their ass off to take care of their kids. At one point in time, the oldest child's father comes and stays with Victoria. And what did you do, Victoria? Blasting him on a live stream. But you remember, you were begging constantly, okay? Constantly for everything under the sun. You had the audacity to tell your live that he can't even buy milk. But they had money. Where was it going, Victoria?
Bought 1 gallon of milk for his own child. I gave him money to go buy milk for his own child the other day. $2 for a gallon of milk for his own child the other day. He has not had to buy anything for my home in the 5 months that he has stayed there.
In that video, Victoria is referring to one of her oldest daughters, that baby's dad. That's who she's talking about on the internet like that. Well, this was happening.
When M first got a job, she was 16 and Victoria was on her bank account with her because she couldn't open a checking account. She would steal EMS paychecks. She would go to the bank as soon as they opened on Friday mornings every single week and take her pay and leave her with maybe $50 for the week.
You know what I wonder? When you couldn't fulfill your obligations, as a mother, your second to oldest daughter went and lived with her boyfriend's mom. I wonder if she ever made her feel like that. I wonder if at the same time you, Victoria, was stealing that very child's money, you blasted that poor kid on the internet. He was a teenager at this point. That didn't matter. All that mattered to you was that you made yourself look like a victim.
The whole thing was she was stealing EMS money every week, but wanted Jay to pay for it.
So you were stealing your kid's money that she was working for to try to support herself, her kid's father, and you were stealing it. And then taking to the internet to try to down a teenage boy when you were stealing the money. Not once either. Every week. So as if that wasn't enough, you also stole from that same teen mother's PayPal. So you were stealing from people on the internet, and that wasn't enough for you. You had to then steal from your teen mother children who were at least attempting to provide an income for their family. Accountability, though, right? You've taken it? Mm-mm. You still deny that to this day.
M tried to tell Victoria she found forgiveness in her heart for her, but that a part of her will always be the 16-year-old girl Victoria stole from. Victoria went off saying she didn't do that and that she was sure it was EM's dad.
I find it incredibly unfortunate and fucking sad that as a grown woman, you had the audacity to steal from your children. And then when they try to confront you about it, you blame it on somebody else.
About the stealing money thing, Victoria has done that to every single one of the kids. It was really bad every time they would get money, she would take it. Jay bought a lockbox and put her money into it, and she still stole it and blamed A.
Weird. That's strange. So the children that you were exploiting on the internet for your drug money, you also stole from. And when they attempt to talk to you about it so that they can get the healing that they need, you continue to lie and blame other people. So the children winds up being seriously neglected, living in horrific conditions, but Victoria was on her quest to exploiting her older children for TikTok fame. As Victoria gains more popularity on TikTok and continues to beg, she quickly becomes what we now call a lolscow, right? She continues to beg. Kids continue to live in filth. Her addiction gets worse. Everything changes on November 24th, 2021. So I know that the lettering is really small here, so I'm going to read it. Victoria was charged with assault in the 4th degree, and then it says child abuse. On November 24th, 2021, at approximately 22:41, I responded to a domestic violence disturbance at blank, which is Victoria's address. Upon arrival, I met with Nathan, who stated that Victoria had came home from a doctor's office. She was upset and requested he come outside to talk to her while he was cooking dinner. Of course he was, right? Nathan went outside to speak with Victoria, and an argument occurred over financial issues. Well, I bet Nathan was pissed off because she was always on the internet begging for the kids and for the house, and why would you have financial issues? Weird. Victoria's emotional state escalated and stated that she was going to leave. Victoria then attempted to take the baby and leave. Nathan stated he was not comfortable with Victoria leaving in the emotional state and attempted to convince her not to leave. At this point in time, Victoria was actually driving around with her children in the car with her eyes closed. Okay? Completely nodded the fuck off. All right? He agreed to let her leave, but not with any of the children. For once, he decided to stand up and try to do something right. Nathan advised that Victoria went inside and picked up blank, it's a child's name, and tried to leave with him. Blank and blank, also children's names, attempted to remove the baby from Victoria's arms, and both were struck in the face by Victoria, sustaining injuries to the left side of the face, leaving visible redness. Blank, one of the children, called 911. Upon deputies' arrival, the whole family was arguing outside. It was discovered through NCIC that Victoria had active warrants. Victoria likes to say that if she didn't have those warrants, she wouldn't have been arrested, and that is a flat-out lie. You know it, Victoria. You would have been arrested for this charge anyway. Okay? The baby was removed from Victoria and given to blank. Victoria, and she was detained and placed into deputy's cruiser. Blank was interviewed and stated she was holding blank, which is an infant, blank month-old daughter, and they were trying to get another child's name away from Victoria based on her emotional state, and Victoria struck her in the face with an open hand. Blank, another child's name, stated that she was not in the room when blank was struck, but based on the yelling, she thought that Victoria had struck her. Blank thought that based on the yelling, she thought that Victoria had struck her infant daughter. She advised that she went into the room where the disturbance was. She attempted to remove Blank from Victoria and was struck in the face by Victoria with a closed fist. I attempted to interview Victoria under Miranda warnings, and she was hysterical and unable to be directed for an interview. I asked Nathan about possible substance use to explain the sudden behavior change, and he advised that he had observed a baggie of an unknown substance inside their vehicle, and Victoria quickly grabbed it and dumped the substance before he could see what it was. He stated this incident was recently, but not on the date, and occurred at the laundromat in Sugar Maple Square. Dispatch advised that Victoria had 2 active Warren County warrants, and she was placed under arrest. Victoria continued to remain in a hysterical state and urinated inside deputies' cruiser. It was unknown what intoxicants were factors in Victoria's behavior, and she was lodged at the Warren County Regional Jail. See, Victoria wants people to believe that that was the only incident of physical abuse, but it wasn't. Multiple children allege that there was always abuse. Some kids got it worse than others.
Victoria and Nathan were fighting over something I'm not sure what, but we were all in the living room. Jay came out to tell them to stop because the baby was sleeping. Victoria tried to take the younger kids and leave was only in like a shirt or like a nightgown. Z was in some shorts and O was naked with just a diaper. It was snowing and freezing, and she was trying to go outside to leave with them. She was clearly high. They were fighting. She's telling the kids we don't care about her, while the kids were all screaming for her to put O down. Nathan kept trying to get her to give him O, and she wouldn't listen. After a bit, she tried to jump out the back door holding O. The house is on the ground. It's on cement blocks, and there is no back porch, so it's like a 4-foot drop. Jay gave E to C so Jay could make sure O didn't get hurt. While Victoria was jumping out the door, C came out and said Victoria had just hit her while she was holding E, a 4-month-old infant. We told C to go to a room with the smaller kids, but given the situation, we understand. C came back into the house and still had O. We were in Victoria's room. And Nathan comes in and they start arguing. Jay started screaming at her, calling her a piece of shit, a bitch, like literally every name you can think of. Told Victoria she was not her mom and not her daughter's grandma, that she would never see them again, that she needed to lay off the drugs. We were telling her she needed to put O down because he doesn't need her in his life. We called her a horrible mother, so she walked up to Jay and punched her in her face. Jay obviously started to cry, but said, "Thank you, you've really fucked up now," and she walked away. Jay grabbed C's phone because Jay's phone was taken that day because she tried to leave the house and called the cops. When the cops got there, Victoria was screaming at them and acting insane, so they detained her. Victoria was screaming to make the kids go inside. The cop removed O from her and handed him to Jay or Nathan, I don't remember which. After Victoria was taken away, C told the truth about what happened. It's probably a good thing because Jay probably would have killed Victoria if she knew this then, but Victoria was really trying to hit Jay's baby. C had turned in time, and instead of the baby, Victoria hit C's side per back.
The night that this happened, her older kids left the house. A couple of days later, CPS came in and removed the younger ones, citing suspected apparent drug use and environmental concerns. That was the only instance, right? Because when I asked if they thought that you were abusive, Victoria, this is what I got back. Victoria literally punched Jay in the face. Nathan slammed her against a dresser and pinned Jay there, screaming in her face. She had a bruised back for a month. One of her ribs stuck out. Not broken, but stuck out. If that's not abuse, I don't know what is. To which I responded, no, I believe 100% that y'all were abused. That's just one example. Nathan has punched male Jay, and got into physical fights on a daily basis. So you could preach to the internet and talk about, I wasn't convicted. You should have been. You should have been. Because you were guilty. Not just of that instance, but on many other things. Now, and once Victoria was arrested and came out of jail, instead of talking about that crime, she has continued to avoid it. Even going as far as saying that she's got a gag order. No, CPS wanted you to stop using the internet as a means to support your children. Have you stopped yet? 3 years later? Just asking. One way or another, you have always exploited those kids. It has always been for you to gain. So, I'm wondering, where's the gag order? Why do you consistently say that that is not on your record when it very much is? Do you think that it makes you look better? I promise you, it is still very much on your record, and I know 100% certainty you fucking did it. So every single time you take to the internet and you say something like, I wasn't convicted, you spit right in their fucking faces. Just so you know, there will be no healing until there are honest conversations had, and I just don't think you're capable of that. So as I mentioned earlier, a lot of the in-between here is earlier in the series. This specific episode is strictly about the kids and how this whole situation went down in honest words, because it doesn't seem like Victoria is capable of them. So I just added a couple of clips so that I could elaborate on some of the things that were discussed in these clips.
Not necessarily anybody called on me.
Well, that's weird, because weren't you saying that it was TikTok's involvement?
Who was supposedly is supposedly who was using drugs.
Supposedly. And this is what people have an issue with, is that you denied an addiction for years and then just all of a sudden popped up one day saying that you were clean, never explaining, denying, and lying. None of that. Just, I'm in recovery now.
We don't know when we get them back.
2022, that was filmed. January of 2022. It would be a whole nother year and a half.
It kills me so bad. All these people on these troll pages are like, I'm glad those babies got removed from her. Like, y'all are sitting there happy that a family got ripped apart. Like,
no, people weren't happy that a family was ripped apart. But in the condition that you were in, those kids fucking deserved better. And I know what was seen publicly. Never mind the things that were done and said privately. Trauma. Do I need to remind you that one of your children called their home, their childhood home, a trauma house? That is a direct quote from one of your children.
that's disgusting. You're disgusting for that.
Personally, I think it's disgusting that your kids were raised that way. I think it's disgusting that you sat on the internet for 3 fucking years while for 2 of them, they lived in fucking foster care. I think it's disgusting that you continue to try to manipulate instead of doing the work necessary in order to heal the fucking pain that you caused. That's what I find disgusting.
Ma'am. Now, I could understand being happy for something like that if a parent needed some sort of help and they were being offered all all of that help and they still were not making any of the changes that need to be made, that would be a different story.
Excuse me? That's exactly what you did. That is exactly what you did. Mind blown, dude.
You're absolutely correct. I'm the one that put myself in this situation. Who said I wasn't?
Victoria had busted J&C's lips on multiple occasions.
Because it sure the fuck didn't come out of my mouth.
January 2022. It still comes out of your mouth that you were not convicted. You still attempt to justify every single one of the worst things that you did in active addiction, claiming you were an addict. You still escape accountability from the people that you fucking stole from. You still lie to your children about the wrongs that you did to them. Addiction is not an excuse. Addiction is never going to be an excuse for fucking child abuse. I want you to understand that. It is never an excuse. Only the people that don't want to take accountability for the shitty stuff that they did in active addiction try to use it as an excuse. But guess where that's going to wind you up? Nowhere good. It ain't going to get you anywhere good. In recovery, you have to heal the broken parts of you, which means taking accountability for the things that you've done wrong. If you don't, you're going to get an internal conflict. You know what that's going to cause? Guilt, shame. You know what drives addiction and use? Guilt and shame. The only way to stay clean and in recovery is to get it all out honestly. Answer for it. Right your wrongs. There is no cutting corners and staying clean. Just so we're all on the same page, Victoria.
But yeah, so... But TikTok did not help the situation. With the thing, the one incident that happened.
One incident, Victoria? One incident.
Yes, my children were removed for one incident. They were initially... The initial reason that they tried to say that they were removing them was because of suspected things. But seeing how suspected things were not true.
No accountability, though. You don't owe any accountability on TikTok.
And it came back, you know, this whole innocent until proven guilty is complete and utter malarkey on so many levels.
Why do you continue to use like words or phrases and it doesn't apply to this situation? Had your kids come out and told the truth about you at that point? So you knew it was being talked about. So why wouldn't you just tell the truth? Why wouldn't you just say, I did, I fucked up. I abused my kids and I fucking shouldn't have and they got taken from me. Crazy. It is crazy. Innocent until proven guilty. You did it. So why were you denying it? You still deny it, but why deny it? It was public record. People were going to see it anyway. Your children started speaking out publicly on the internet. Why deny it? Because you just lie. Your first instinct is always to lie. And until you break that habit, Victoria, you're going to have a really hard fucking time.
Environment, which was nothing more than fire hazards.
Also a lie. Also a lie. You realize that even at this point in time, people knew that your house was a hoarded mess. Still, to this day, is a hoarded mess. You are still being cited for the trash on your property, Victoria. So, nothing but a fire hazard? Do you need to rewind a little bit and see the conditions that your children say that your home was in? Never in a million years. In active addiction, my kids could have eaten off my floor. What were you busy doing, lives? You were busy robbing people on the internet. Too busy to clean that house. Unfucking real.
It's in our paperwork. Again, other people like to say bullshit. That was not the case, but I have the paperwork to prove otherwise.
I'm so curious what other people were saying that was not factual at this time. Because you were in active addiction. You did risk your children's lives driving around with your eyes closed. You did physically assault your children. You did live in a fucking biohazard that you called a house. So what was not accurate?
Oh, and just like I fucking suspected last week when, I was late being able to do my drug test because I didn't have the fucking $50 to go take a damn drug test.
I only included that because when I heard it, I was like, huh? Anybody else ever have to pay for a drug test given through CPS? Because I haven't. My insurance always picked it up. So I just included that to hear if she's the only one on the planet that I've ever heard of that being done to, because of whose mouth it's coming out of,
But anyway, since I was late and I wasn't able to take the one last week when she wanted me to take it, just like I figured, I had to take another one. And guess what?
You were in active addiction then. But here you are telling the internet, right?
Yeah, I have to pay for it every time. And I've taken upwards of, in the past year, I've taken about 25 now, I do believe. I can go back and count my pieces of paper. But yeah, I've taken about 25 of them now. Just money in the garbage. My insurance can't and will not pay for it.
Anybody else? Because obviously somebody in the chat was like I am, like, huh? My insurance always picked up. No, even when rehab was billing me $1,700 a UA, 3 times a week they picked it up. So I'm super confused. Anybody else? That's the only reason why I really left it here, because I just never heard of that before.
Yeah, so I ended up having to take another one, and lo and behold, y'all will never guess. I didn't even study for that one either. And somehow I passed that test too. I don't know how that happened.
Oh, I know. You actually didn't pass the drug test, but because you had a legal prescription, it kind of washes out, right? So you didn't actually pass the drug test. Because you had a legal prescription, it was a negative, right?
I'm trying to be as strong as possible. God bless. See? And then they wonder how in the hell our kids get lost in the system. Like, I've been reading story after story after story of these kids just turning up missing and no one knows where the fuck they went. Like, it's just ridiculous. But, so, not this weekend, but the last weekend, a week ago, I had no clue where he even was or where they even were. They were put in a different home to transition into the home that they're in right now. And I have no clue where they were. I have no clue. Like, when the tornadoes came through our town, it took me 3 hours to know that my kids were okay. Like, it is... Yeah. They're just moving them. They don't care.
I bet that's fucking sad. I do. I guarantee you, it's probably torture as a mom, right? But you were still using here. If it were that big of a deal to you, you'd have gotten your shit together immediately. It shouldn't have taken you 3 fucking years, Victoria.
Life-changing event that first, and that's what I'm saying. Like, whatever, I understand they're foster parents, they're humans, but what life-changing happened, which I know what happened to them or whatever. I mean, obviously y'all don't know who it is, so like maybe it wouldn't, but anyway, okay, they were younger, but they're no longer going to be together. The mom and dad are no longer going to be together. But
God forbid foster parents have lives outside of raising your fucking kids. The audacity of you. I swear to God, you never cease to amaze me. Those people have lives too. The audacity of their life coming in between the fact that you lost custody of your kids and they needed to raise them. The fuck?
Happened with the first foster family. And now they have been moved yet again to another foster home. So in 2 months, they have been in 3 different homes. I know it is traumatizing. Like, I'm so worried. And now they've put him on medication. They put him on medication, and now that he's been moved again, he's not doing well again.
You could have had those kids out of that home in 6 months. If you would have done everything that you needed to do when you were supposed to do it, not when you wanted to do it, you could have had them. But I thought, wait a second, I thought it was me that released sensitive information about your kid. That's weird. That's weird. Just so you know, Victoria, that was not me speaking in that clip. And you went on and on saying that person was an idiot. Do you know now who it was? After the kids were removed, there were 2 times that Victoria earned visits. Okay? Both of those times, she wound up having them revoked. I'm going to show a couple of clips of what Victoria looked like while her children, who were living in foster care, were at her home visiting.
Like an ocean or something?
Do what?
The ocean's not in here. How can you hear the ocean? How can you hear the ocean if there's not an ocean in here? Yeah, there's no water in this thing. Hello. We never got a chance to actually blow the real thing up. Mama, look, we never got a chance to blow the actual thing up. Mama.
What, baby?
We never got a chance to actually blow the actual thing up.
Do it.
We never got a chance to blow the actual thing up. I mean, maybe because it's still right there. And then we never put the balls in. We never did nothing with it but load and little legs on. See, the balls should still be in here. Should still be in here.
Boom.
What was this up? The balls got.
Bring it around town. Boop, 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 boop.
I'm in trouble. Son of a gun. That was oh, you turd. Ah. Son of a biscuit.
One would think after having your children removed from your house, you'd at least try to stay off the lives if you're going to be that fucking high. That kid is crying for your attention. And you are too busy on a live stream that you can't even open your eyes in.
What? Oh. Oh, did she now?
We're going back out here? Where's the pink? What? Show me. Show me. Huh? What, baby?
One of the children posted this. Visitation will be good for you. You were not there. They were being made to visit. Victoria was clearly still using. No intention then on really doing the right thing, clearly. How long ago was that? Right? Still chose to do what you were doing for another, 2 years? Victoria decides to drive over a historic bridge where she lives with her kids unbuckled and one of her kids out the window of the car while it was moving. And while I understand different strokes for different folks, that's unsafe. This is unsafe. And you should have already been treading super carefully. This is not what somebody with an open CPS case does. Not if they intend on keeping their kids, but I'm almost positive that you have been manipulating people your whole life. So you just thought that they would be another person in the long list of people that you've manipulated before. How'd that work out for you? It's crazy that the things that you say now are so like the things you said then. But you're supposed to be such a changed person, right?
I am not going to sit back and let these people trash me when I am making myself better. And these people don't know shit. It's amazing the things that you will make up and try to make it look like something it's not.
Super curious what you were talking about there, because the things that people were saying about you then are very much true. You don't owe them apologies for lying, trying to save your own ass or image or online reputation while they were telling the truth.
All right, let's talk about it. This picture was posted on a hate page stating, "Oh look, hi again." Literally blinking, laying my head back. Again, let's preface this by telling you a little bit about what was going on at this particular moment, or what had just went on.
You were high. You were high. Why is it so hard for you to say?
Please make it make sense. Why will you guys absolutely just do anything and everything? Oh, I'm going to send that to your caseworker. You're going to send a video of me cleaning out a cup holder to my caseworker. Y'all are just super disgusting. I am making myself better.
January 17th, 2022. January 17th, 2022. When you could no longer hide what was going on in your home from the internet, you gaslit them. You were making yourself better. Took you another 2 years to get clean, Victoria.
And you can't stop. You won't stop. Because the only thing that you people care about is getting attention yourselves and ruining the rest of the life I have left.
Sounds familiar. Ruining the rest of the life that you have left. You were in control of your life, Victoria. No one else. You. Sounds like projection. Some of us don't do what we do for attention. Strange for you to understand that, I'm sure. And I can't imagine how many people started speaking up about you because you wronged them. I'm one of them. You lied about me. Had you not lied about me, none of this would happen. But I know you can't admit that because you can't admit the smallest. But it's not always attention. Some of us have very different motives than yours.
And I don't give a damn anymore. You can drug test me any day you want to, baby girl. Bring it right on over and I'll piss in your hands for you if you need that. But until then, stop slandering my fucking name.
How is it slander if it was true? You were actively using, at this point in time, while yelling slander on the internet?
Proof. Show proof to anybody that I am doing anything, anything you said on that video.
Just because you can't admit it to yourself doesn't mean it wasn't the truth, Victoria.
I'm going to start a series. I've been talking about this for a while because, people are assholes. But this series is going to be things I've been told to why people do not believe I deserve my children since my CPS case started. Let's go, because there's some pretty messed up crap. I'm just going to start with the most recent one, which happened yesterday. I was told that since I could not provide a good Christmas for my children, or a Christmas at all, that I did not deserve my children.
Who exactly would you be if you didn't throw a dry bag in that? 2 of Victoria's daughters tried to come to TikTok and did live streams talking about their truth with their mother. One of those children still does not have live access because it was reported. Let me repeat that. One of those children still does not have live access because the live was reported when they tried to come to TikTok in order to tell their story about Victoria.
Instead, when we tried to speak out about it, Jay's account was banned. She still live banned Jay. Got awful allegations thrown at her because she was allowed to be around the kids more than Victoria.
Victoria said that?
Yeah.
Oh, that is not why she went to jail. She went to jail for child abuse, hon.
She went to jail for child abuse and failure to appears.
Yeah. Because while she was telling y'all that she was going to her court date, she was not.
And I'm allowed to say that because it's public record, so if someone says I'm not supposed to say that, you're wrong. It's public records. She got charged with 4th-degree child assault.
She did.
I cannot imagine a time that my kids would have to take to the internet in order for their voices to be heard and matter. In order for me to understand the pain that I caused them, to get my attention, to hopefully get me to change my ways. Absolutely not.
Care, Katie. And she said she gave one of the kids medicine too close together. I don't know.
That was me. She's talking.
What?
She said that one of the times that I had to go to the hospital from the school was gave me medicine too close together. Which, that wasn't the one and only time that happened.
So, while Victoria's younger children were in kin care while they were with a family member, one of her older daughters was babysitting the younger kids while the person was at work. Victoria got upset that that child was seeing the younger kids more than she was. Victoria was still trying to manipulate the situation, even though she did not have any control. The older son of the little kids made an allegation against his oldest sister. During that investigation, the older daughter was without her daughter. While that investigation was occurring, Victoria's daughter lost her daughter. That is not normal behavior. So now, not only do your hands, Victoria, traumatize your children, but you potentially traumatize your grandchildren. That is one of the sickest things that I have ever heard a mother do. Honestly. God knows what that little boy was thinking when he was told to lie about his sister. Maybe that's part of the reason he has the issues he has, Victoria. You tried to label one of your daughters a fucking sex offender. And you just want TikTok to forget it. My heart hurts for that kid. You're her mother. And you caused not only her pain, but her child's pain. For your own selfish fucking reasons. That is unforgivable to me. And I pray that that kid continues on her healing journey. Far the fuck away from you. You are toxic, Victoria. And toxic is toxic is toxic. I would never be able to even think about living with myself after that. You don't give a fuck about anybody but yourself. You don't care. That is outrageous. She deserved better. You're disgusting.
Victoria is the reason the kids got put into foster care. Jay used to babysit the kids in Victoria. Didn't like that, but she was the only person helping this family out. Victoria had tried to make this person look bad through the state, and then had Z make an allegation about Jay, saying she touched him. A's words to make Jay get in trouble like Victoria did. Then because nobody could watch them full time, they went into foster. Jay was literally about to turn 18 and Victoria didn't care. She told us she wanted Jay to go to jail, which is insane to me. The story changed. They called 2 different times to change the story, that way Jay would get her baby taken. The first time they were just like, Jay did this. And then they called CPS again and said, Jay did this. And her daughter was in the room. So CPS feared Jay might be doing something to her baby as well. They immediately went to Jay, and her dad had just picked her baby up. Jay was without her daughter for 1.5 months because of those lies.
One of the absolute worst things I've ever heard a parent do. I would never forgive that. There's no way in hell. My children being affected because of your selfish, manipulative shit? Absolutely fucking not. I pray for those kids because of what you've done to them. I hope that they continue to be well-rounded, great mothers that have healing in mind, because that's not your goal. If it was, you would be honest with them. It's strange. You've come to the internet and said that you've taken accountability to them. No, you haven't. Continue to lie. Continue to justify your actions. One of them doesn't want anything to do with you.
It's just insane, and I don't know why Victoria doesn't think she owes Jay an apology.
You don't think that you owe that kid an apology? I don't see a world where you would think that you don't owe that kid an apology. She wants to be a better mother than you. And she had no choice but to be without her daughter for a month or two because of your actions. And you don't owe her an apology? I really hope that she does the healing so that she understands that your behavior has nothing to do with her. That's what I hope.
Jay plans to keep things the way they are. Victoria has never actually said she was sorry and actually say what she did. Instead, when we tried to speak out about it, Jay's account was banned. She still live banned Jay. Got awful allegations thrown at her because she was allowed to be around the kids more than Victoria. Used to be so proud to come from a big family, but this is what it's come to, and in the long run all it showed me is you can't really trust people, even if they're family.
I find it so unfortunate that as parents we're supposed to, prepare our kids to go out into the world. And I find it really unfortunate that you ruined that for them. You ruined a lot for them. And they're left to deal with the consequences of your behavior. And you don't even give them enough respect to be fucking honest with them. I can't imagine how those kids felt on TikTok for years while you continued to be on the internet begging, getting high, denying an addiction. I can't imagine how they felt watching you continue to do the same shit, like feeling unwanted. I want you to know, Victoria, that one of the hardest issues that I see adults struggle with is abandonment. I see it become an issue well into adulthood. It is a really triggering and deep feeling insecurity. And I feel for your children because I know that it sucks. They didn't do anything asking to be born into the life that you gave them. They didn't ask for that. And when things started getting bad, you couldn't even get your shit together in order to prove to them that you were sorry. An apology without change is manipulation. Do you think that they don't feel manipulated? Do you think that those things don't replay in their minds over and over and over again? So much so that they would reach out to a stranger. And I want you to know that the only thing I've ever offered is support. Because I can't imagine how it feels to have you as a mother on the internet doing the things that you're doing. I can't imagine how it feels to feel like your mother chose a fucking social media app over you. And make no mistake, that's how they feel. It's really unfortunate. It is really unfortunate. And I just pray that they live a happy life that they deserve. There has been social media posts where Victoria's daughters have made it clear about their feelings. I chose to edit. I don't want to use their names if I can avoid it. I don't want to show their faces, whether they're minors or not, just out of respect for them.
Objection! Nuh-uh. Fuck you mean, nuh-uh?
I think you could tell by the sound why I didn't need to show that last frame. Fuck you mean, nuh-uh. A child comes to you and they say, you abused me. And you said, nuh-uh. Fuck you mean, nuh-uh. She's telling you that she feels like you abused her. And instead of trying to validate that, you ignore, shift blame, justify. Addiction is not an excuse for abusing your children. I don't know who told you that. I could be damn sure no professional or person in recovery would tell you that. Addiction is not an excuse for shitty behavior. Never mind in general. Never mind abuse. That's never going to be a justification.
Anybody comes into this world just deserving your love for no reason, except for your children, which you brought into this world to give them your love. So obviously, like, I feel it's pretty normalized for most people not to love their fathers because of the whole stigmatism around fathers. But you don't have to love your mothers.
I can't imagine my children coming to the internet and doing these things and it not stopping me to reflect on my behavior or my actions or the things that I've done. I just cannot imagine that happening and me continuing to not even recognize the depths of the things that I've done. I can't imagine my children thinking that the only way that they could get through to me was talking about me on the internet. I can't imagine my kids feeling like maybe if I go to the internet, I'll get her attention. Because that is what was important to you. I can't imagine. Y'all remember that TikTok trend with the song, I was raised by a woman that was hard to impress? And I carry that shit real deep in my chest. One of Victoria's daughters did that trend. This is what she posted. Fucking audacity of Victoria. She did that trend after one of her daughters did. And this is what she posted. After people noticed that she was essentially doing the trend that her daughter did and made it not about what she's done, perfect opportunity, right? People started talking about it on her subreddit where Victoria goes for content most times. Anyway, people started talking about it. How fucked up of you to copy and do that trend and make it about that situation when you had a perfect chance to do the right thing. This is what she posts. If you had intentions on doing the right thing, you would have just done it in the first place, not after somebody called you out for it. When people really feel remorse, they don't have to be prompted in order to apologize or take accountability for the things that she did. It would break my heart if one of my kids posted that song thinking that it reminded them of me. It's not easy to be a mother. Children don't come with a handbook. I think that we all kind of just do our best and cross our fingers and pray. You did the opposite of that. Not acknowledging that isn't going to make it better for them. And you would think that after causing so much damage, you would want to do anything in order to make them feel seen, heard, validated. They shouldn't have to get that from strangers, Victoria. They should have gotten it from you. Being a mother to daughters is not easy. It's not easy to instill confidence and make them so that they understand that they're enough, right? Self-esteem, really important in teenage daughters. And you would body shame them. You body shamed your teenage daughters at a time where self-image is so fucking important. Instead of building them up, your words tore them down. I cannot imagine my children telling strangers that they haven't shared their story because no matter what's said, she's going to twist the story and I'm the bad guy once again. That's awful. Awful that they felt silenced.
Do all the things. Anyway, now, as I just addressed over on my private page, can I get a raise of hands? Okay, you know what the emoji is in your phone. We're going to treat this like kindergarten because that's what some of you motherfuckers act like. Who understands that there is a difference, like a very, very large difference between somebody that has committed a crime and, I don't know, been arrested for said crime? That is different. And again, I should put in here that they've been arrested, but everybody is innocent until proven guilty, correct? Everybody is innocent until proven guilty. Now, you get your day in court, which finally I have done that. And no, before somebody decides flapping those lips, I am not speaking on the thing I have a gag order on, okay? Now,
so the gag order was in the criminal case or not in the criminal case? Because now nobody knows, just so you know. Clearly, there's a big difference between being arrested and charged for a crime and being convicted of a crime. Everybody knows that. But not being convicted doesn't mean you're not guilty.
there's a huge, huge difference between if you have committed a crime and being charged with said crime and going to court for said crime, okay? There's a big fucking difference between that and being put on, that special registry.
I don't know why you say anything about a registry. In my opinion, I believe there absolutely should be a child abuse registry because I think that people need to proceed with caution when dealing with certain individuals. But you did the crime. You did the crime. You took an Alfred plea. You pled down, Victoria. That doesn't mean that you did not commit the acts that you got arrested and charged for.
Bringing up my old charges that were dismissed. I don't care if they show up on a background check. I was not convicted of that.
I don't care if you've been convicted. You were arrested, and I know that you abused your children. Full stop. I don't care if you were convicted, Victoria. I know you did it. Have you ever addressed it? The fact that you very much hid behind bullshit word salad, thinking that people wouldn't connect the dots. You did it. You 100%, on one occasion, punched one of your teenage daughters in the face and smacked the other one while she was holding an infant. Fact.
I'm sorry, that hurting a child, which again, that's a bad thing, I know, but again, I was arrested for that, but the charges were dropped, okay? So yes.
Not dropped. You pled down. And just so we're on the same page, you deserve to be convicted of that crime.
Somebody made a video, I think yesterday. You know that they said that hurting a child was worse than murder. Worse than. Somebody being convicted of murder is less of a crime than somebody being arrested for hurting a child and not convicted. What? Convicted of murder, accused of this.
Let me try to explain it to you so that your small brain can understand. At that point in time, I already knew the things that you had done to your children. That's first. Secondly, they have to live with it for the rest of their lives. I understand that your small brain can't understand the depths of the trauma that you have caused them and what it will take for them to heal through that trauma. I understand that. A murder victim is gone. They don't have to live with that trauma. It's cut and dry. Now, I understand that you may not want to look at your actions. That's what that statement meant. It said nothing about child abuse being a worse crime than murder. I said I would hang out with a murderer before a child abuser, and I fucking mean it. Okay? So here you go again, trying to put things together, and you're fucking wrong. The victim of a murder doesn't have to deal with the consequences of the trauma caused. Your children will carry that shit for the rest of their fucking lives. So, yes, the victim of a murder, you could use her kids. That's what you could use. That's what you could compare it to. So no, don't twist my fucking words just because you're not smart enough to understand them. Child abusers are subhuman to me. It takes a different kind of person to steal the fucking innocence of a child. Never mind then justify, deny, and excuse their fucking behavior all over the internet. Do you understand now? That's what I meant by that statement. I think that you should just stop trying to understand the things that I say, because clearly you are not intelligent to understand. That's what that statement means.
I would love for all of you that are so quick to judge somebody to hop in a little time machine and go back and look at all the awful, crazy shit you did that you probably don't fucking remember because you were also high out of your gourd.
No, Victoria, not every addict abused their fucking children. But real quick, what's the excuse for the physical abuse and the living conditions before you were in addiction?
So, again, I'm not proud of anything while I was in active addiction.
Again, what about your behavior before you were in active addiction? This was filmed in November. Such a changed person, but you're still denying and lying.
But also, I've asked several times, show that charge, the one y'all keep talking about, anywhere on my actual record. People get arrested for things they weren't guilty of all the time.
Yep, imagine that. It's still there. It's still there.
But yeah, show it to me on my actual record. I would love to see it. Oh, and I will add this part in because people also don't get charged with things that they did do. But, I'm going to guess if it was something that could be proven without a reasonable doubt, it would not have got dropped.
November. That was filmed in November, and you're still denying it. You did it, Victoria. You did it. So why are you giving this whole spiel? Innocent until proven guilty, you did it. I will say it again. I was once arrested for heroin possession. That was dismissed. I should have been convicted, but it was dismissed. Just because you plead to a lesser charge does not mean you did not commit the crime. You smacked one of your daughters in the face while she was holding an infant, and then you closed fist punched another one, both teenagers.
And with the whole thing about a particular child saying she didn't want to go to bed because there was dog poop everywhere in her room, y'all called a certain agency over that. And I had my children for quite a while after that exact thing happened. So I'm going to guess if that was true, that probably wouldn't have been the case.
Also not true, okay? Also not true. Do you want to rewind? It was a frequent thing that the animals used the bathroom in your house. So that's not the case. It would have just been added to the case plan. Doesn't mean a removal. But environmental was a reason that your children were removed. That would be environmental.
You know better than the judges. You know better than my clinic. You know better than my therapist. You know better than all these agencies. Like, y'all should get a job somewhere that, like, all these places to prove all of them wrong for people like me.
Unfortunately for you, I believe your children. It's your own fault that people call you a liar and don't find your words hold weight. I believe their words, not yours.
That you are looking through red filters at because you are so blinded by your friend or somebody that you like not liking me, that probably doesn't even know you exist. That's what you base your shit on.
Unfortunately for you, there has been proof behind everything that's been said in this series. That's that you can't get mad at it. It's your behavior. Okay? So people are basing their opinions on the facts of a situation because you refuse to tell the truth about fucking anything.
State, I guess, that he was in when he was born was because I was in addiction, which is not the case at all.
You're being so honest, though. Why would you have not admitted in October?
And as I stated in the beginning, this took place as an additive to the fact that she said, or they said, that I starved my children, particularly the baby. I know what they're referencing. It was no fault of my own. I took my son to his 4-month appointment, I do believe, and he was still not at birth weight. At that point, yes, I was nursing. I breastfed all of my babies, except for Mackenzie, my oldest, because I was a kid too then. But I was supplementing with formula because he wasn't gaining weight. I was also having some medical issues myself, but I didn't care. Like, I literally was supposed to be on neurological medicine, and I didn't take it because I couldn't breastfeed on it.
You wouldn't take neurological medicine that you were supposed to be taking, but you continued taking opiates. Does that make sense to anybody else? So in late September, I get this email, okay? I wind up having a phone call with this person. Some of the quotes in this episode come from that conversation, but as you could see, they reached out to me. I was curious about Victoria saying that she had taken accountability and things were all good, and I had questions, and I think that person had questions, and we had a pretty good conversation. I'm going to include some clips from that conversation, quotes from that conversation, regarding what they thought about if Victoria was truly changed.
She has a very hard time saying I'm sorry. She's a narcissist.
During that conversation, it came up, why wouldn't she just apologize for the lie that she said? And that's what she said. Actually, multiple children describe her as a narcissist.
It's been years. She's not changed, like, honestly. She may be doing drugs less. I'm pretty sure she's still doing them occasionally, like she's not doing them as much as she was.
One of the biggest questions that I had was, why did Nathan leave the kids in foster care for 3 years? Why did he not, instead of putting the kids in foster care make Victoria leave the home. And this is the response I got.
They're trauma bonded. I think in his mind, if he left and kept the kids, that there was no chance she would have gotten better.
I think that Nathan's history also is important. But for me, in my opinion, it would have made me go the other way. If I was a foster child that was raised in this system, I would have 100% gone and gotten my kids, no matter the cost. I would have done whatever I needed to do to keep my kids out of the system, especially being a victim of that system myself.
I don't agree with that. I think that he should have left her honestly, just for the kids' sake. I think morally for him, it would have been just as bad in his mind. Either leave her to keep the kids and not put them through that, or stay.
To me, there would have been no choice. There would have been no thinking about it. I would have left, because those are my kids. And especially if you grew up in this system, don't you not want that for them? Don't you want better for them? If I were the active addict and CPS were going to remove my kids, I've said it a million times, I would have packed my shit and left so that my kids stayed in their home. That's what a real mother would have done. I think that conversation was the first time that I actually felt sorry for Victoria. I felt sorry for her that she could not recognize that even though her life may not have been picture perfect before TikTok, that she allowed a social media app to instead make things worse, at the expense of what should have been the most important people in her life. That hurt my heart for her. It's unfortunate when I see people. I could see the issues, and it's always so unfortunate to me that the answers are so simple, but they just don't listen. And Victoria is a good example of that, because she hasn't quite gotten to the point where she understands that she has to do the self-reflection necessary in order to be a different person. Maybe she was a different person before addiction. I'm sure that most are. However, you got to get to the why people used in the first place. And having a prescription is not the only answer. I think that a lot of us were hooked legally by doctors, but there's still a reason that something we're trying to escape. That there's something that increases where dependency becomes addiction. There's something in our minds that causes that. And I personally just don't think that Victoria has the level of honesty that is required to get to that why. I think in her mind, she thinks that just because she's abstinent, that means that that's recovery. And that's just not the case. And unfortunately, I just don't see it ending very well. One of the most important things that I wanted to know, since Victoria was all over the place saying that she had taken accountability to those that matters, was if she actually did. And this was their answers.
I think she isn't going to take accountability. It's been 3 years and people are starting to forgive her and forget about what she's done.
So I guess everybody else except Victoria lies, because anyone that I spoke to about it said that she still continues to lie. She has not taken accountability. She still justifies, denies, excuses her behavior. So I guess they're lying, right, Victoria?
I want people to see as well that she isn't taking accountability. Yeah, sure, she might be clean, and that's a big maybe. But it doesn't change what she did. Even before the drug, she was a piece of garbage.
I also find it strange that the ones that I spoke to, neither of them believe that she has fully quit using drugs. So I found that a little weird. Don't really know why or what gives them that impression, but they've said it.
The good thing for Jay, female, is that she didn't regain communication with them. The others did, and I think they will struggle when they realize Victoria isn't going to change, at least not for her kids. She may because Nathan might leave her, but that won't be anytime soon, so she's not gonna change. I'm in therapy and moving on.
I also find it strange that the ones that I spoke to, neither of them believe that she has fully quit using drugs. So I found that a little weird. Don't really know why or what gives them that impression, but they've said it.
I think deep down Victoria only wants the boys back. She always favored Jay male. While the girls were cooking or cleaning, Jay got to play video games, no questions asked.
So I understand that to some degree, any type of parentification is normal within large families, but it's apparent that in this specific situation, the older kids, the females, were made to do the house responsibilities. I don't know why Victoria couldn't do it herself. It wasn't like she was doing anything productive anyway. It's a little strange to me. So I do wanted to just add that. I understand how if you're the older, it's quite normal to take care of like your younger siblings. However, when you're forced to do everything, I think that becomes a problem. And Victoria, you may want to look up like the research on what parentification does to children on this level, the long-term effects of that. So the other thing that I was curious about is if they thought the kids should come home. At that point in time, I had been in touch with somebody that was in touch with the guardian ad litem directly. And we'll get to that a little later on in the December situation, because everything that I was being told from the middleman to the guardian ad litem was that those kids were not going to be home anytime soon. It will come up again later, but I wanted to get their take on it because they were raised in that house and they understand, even before addiction, what Victoria was like. This is what they said.
I don't really know if they are coming back, and I don't think they should. That is just a trauma house, and aside from the drugs and uncleanliness, Victoria and Nathan are narcissists, and that doesn't change. I think she likes the attention that having the kids brings her. And TikTok is her only way of money, so she's gotta do what she's gotta do.
I find it really strange that money was involved there, because why would children know that TikTok was being used for money? And she also, although she can participate in the TikTok shop, she doesn't. At least then she would be earning some money, but she doesn't. That was interesting to me. Because a child knew that. A child knew that Victoria used TikTok to get money.
It's been 3 years, or right about that, since they've been in foster care, and they have been to a lot of houses. I think the kids are happy, and they all look so much better and healthy. O can speak in complete sentences, and I think they are happy. I wish they got to stay together, but I think they are safe.
I am glad that they somehow managed to grow and learn in different environments.
She can be around the kids as long as Nathan is there. I believe they had them on Thanksgiving. I stayed with M, and the boys just spent the day with them. I think they will have them on Christmas.
So up until that point, that fit exactly what I was being told from the person that had the guardian ad litem conversations. One of Victoria's friends realized the truth of the actual piece of shit that Victoria was and reached out to me with proof that Victoria was on visits that she was not supposed to be on. Those images were forwarded to the guardian ad litem directly, and from that, I never heard anything else about it because we just assumed that things were going the way they were going. On December 20th, I received screenshots of a conversation between Victoria and somebody else where she states that the kids were coming home. I ignored it because I was like, there's no fucking way. She just showed her daughter's room on a live maybe 2 or 3 days before that, and the room was fucking disgusting. And in my mind, there was no way that CPS was going to go from unsupervised visitation, that she was still not obeying the rules for, okay, to them being in the home. So I decided to pump the brakes a bit. I waited a little bit to see if I could get any information to confirm so that this episode could be done with the correct information.
I just wanted to come on here and say thank you to the amazing person that sent this off the wish list. You know who you are, and again, thank you so much. Wait to see her face. It means a lot to us, it really does. I'll record a reaction for you. Thank you. Yeah.
That room was disgusting. Okay? So when I originally got this message, I didn't believe it because I knew that she was not able to be with the kids unsupervised. I'm familiar with the reunification process, and I understood that it would have been done gradually. But instead of continuing to film what would have been this episode, I decided to hang back. I was told I would have an answer on Christmas. While over Christmas break, I was contacted and told that she had the girl and that the boys would be transitioning soon. Okay? I did not have a solid answer for any of it. On Christmas, it went unmentioned. And to me, if somebody lost their kids for 3 years and they got them back, wouldn't that be something to celebrate and people would be excited? Nobody would quit talking about it. And none of that happened, so I found it a little strange. I thought that it was better for me to wait until I knew for sure in order to get this episode out. I started talking to other people that were in some way, shape, or form connected and could get me the truth of what was going on. Not a single person that I spoke to thought that those children should be in that house. I wasn't sure originally. I thought it was just a visit. Obviously, we know now that it was not. It is still my opinion that it is Nathan that has custody, and he has to, in some way, shape, or form, supervise Victoria. But every single person that I spoke to said that it was a major failure on CPS's end. Not a single person that I had contact with thought that those kids being in that house was a good thing. Okay? Originally, I thought that Victoria was trying to mess with the credibility of the series, which is why I pumped the brakes. Because she's known to lie about people to see what comes out. Right, Victoria? Got this message January 7th confirming that the kids were actually there. Person says, the state has failed them kids miserably.
They weren't even getting overnights and now they're just back? How does that happen?
So, after Victoria has the kids back, nothing changes. Kids were gone for 3 years. She stayed on Discord phone calls for hours a day. Maybe she stopped being live publicly because she didn't want people to know that the kids were there, but she stayed on Discord calls for hours a day. Still accepting things from people, right? Do you think that if you do it in a Discord server, nobody's going to find out about it? Because I have more screenshots of your Discord server than you think I do. How do you think I came up with the plan on when to drop this episode? It blows my mind that you still very much give a shit what people think, and you are still very much doing the wrong thing. I have never heard of somebody going from unsupervised visits to custody. Ever. Not once. And if y'all knew what I did in my professional life, I think that you might understand why that is so big. It is done gradually for a reason. Your kids didn't live together for 3 years. Separate. Boys in one home or multiple homes and the girl in another. That process is done delicately for a reason. You think that it is a big thing that you got those kids there, but you're not doing anything in order to sustain your recovery. Therefore, it's not going to last. The fact that you are still being dishonest. You can't cut corners. You can't live dirty and live a sober life. You can't do it. Why didn't you have this surgery in the 3 years that the kids were gone. Which, by the way, just so everybody understands, Victoria, the last surgery that she had, she fucked it up. She did not follow the follow-up instructions. And that's what ultimately led to this surgery needing to be done. But why didn't you do that? If we're going to be so hell-bent on taking painkillers, why didn't you do it while the kids weren't there? Just wondering. You had all that time to do it, but you waited. Strange. It's really strange to me, because it should have been done. I don't think you have any idea. People that take their recovery seriously, especially in the beginning with no real inside work being done, they would fight real hard not to take narcotic medication. It's almost like you used it as an excuse to take narcotic medication. I've had multiple surgeries and have declined narcs every time. And my recovery is a lot stronger than yours. I know that you don't want to listen to people when they try to warn you that you are in a dangerous situation. You do not have the skills necessary in order to make that dependency not bring you back to addiction. People that have been clean for years fall back with that. You, who continues to be dishonest, you don't think it could happen to you? I saw a clip of your life from the other night. Trying to blame a doctor for a relapse. Why would it be the doctor's fault? You should have said no narcotics. No, it wasn't even an option for you. And that's the scary part. That right there. The fact that you didn't even think about doing it without narcotics. Plenty of people have had the surgery that you've had that are addicts, and they did it without narcotics. It gets done. People that take their recovery seriously, that understand that it is life and death, they do it because they should do it, because they have to do it, because they don't want to take that chance in getting hung up again. I said it before, and I will say it again. I can't imagine my kids living somewhere else for 3 years, and then I finally get them back, and I'm still consumed with the internet. Those 3 years are time that you will never get back. And if we're being honest, it's been longer than 3 years since they've seen their mom. You haven't been their mom in a long time, but you're still falling into old patterns. And that's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because they deserved better. Those kids deserved for you to spend every fucking second making up for what you did to them. But you're on Discord calls 12, 13 hours a day, which is crazy. Crazy. Still teaching your kids that you can get strangers on the internet to provide their needs. I'm sure it's overwhelming for you. I'm sure it is. Maybe you should have done it more gradually. Maybe you should have not rushed to think that you were proving something to the internet, because I promise you, you proved nothing. You having those kids back in that home does not mean that you did not do the things that you did to them. It just doesn't. That's not what it means. You still very much traumatized and abused those kids, and still very much deny doing it to them. So you're right. You don't owe the internet accountability for what you've done and the damage that you caused those children. You owe it to them. And you lie to the internet saying that it was done when it wasn't. It wasn't. You know, I got a message after you did get the kids back from somebody in your real life, and they told me that I had their full support for protecting the kids. That's crazy to me. people in your real life reaching out to strangers that are covering you on the internet so that they could make sure that the things that are being said are accurate is fucking wild. I'm so grateful that my kids don't have to worry about that. They don't have to worry about me lying to the internet about the parent that I am to them. I'm so glad that my kids don't have to worry about me misrepresenting their story because I can't be honest. That's sad. That's really sad to me. And they deserve better. And it's really sad to me that you don't realize it. It's unfortunate to me that you don't realize that the longer that you justify, deny, shift blame, ignore what you actually did to them, there will be no healing. And I really hope that they get there. No child deserves to feel like that. No child should feel like a fucking social media app is more important to their mother than they are. They deserved better. And you already ruined that. You didn't give them what they deserved. But what you could do is make a change and start doing it now. I don't think you're capable. I don't think you're capable of validating their feelings for what you've done to them without being defensive. Defense mechanisms are called defense mechanisms for a reason. Maybe you should be talking about that with your therapist. To this day, you still are very reactive and defensive when people are just saying the truth. You still have a very real reaction to people that are telling the truth about you. That's a you problem. Doesn't affect me when people are telling the truth about me. Something to look at. You are, unfortunately, what I call unteachable. You're unteachable. I've sponsored hundreds of women successful in their sobriety. You were the hardest type of woman to get a breakthrough with because you have so many walls up that you keep fighting against what should be just so simple. Be honest. I don't think you know what honesty is. It's going to be your biggest hang up. And that's sad to me. It's really unfortunate to me that I could almost see the outcome here. And you are doing everything to wind up exactly where I think you'll wind up. And that is even worse. The rest of this is just going to be some questions that I asked and the responses that I was given. I hope you choose to do better, Victoria. But if those kids choose to move on with their life without you being a part of it, they don't owe you shit. And I hope you understand that. And before I forget, I hope you have a happy 1 year clean.